Hey guys, a Knife Tale here, bringing you a knife review of this Kizer Domin. It says it right there. This is the Sheepsfoot variant, which is actually interesting. You get what looks like a sheepsfoot, and then you get the hard angle that also is a different kind of sheepsfoot. I don't know. Either way, it almost looks like it's got two tips that you, depending on the light, pick up. It's cool. I like the blade shape. They're not all this, but I think this is probably the best version of this knife with this blade shape. It is also hollow ground, pretty thin. It's not going to focus, but it is quite thin, and it is relatively deeply hollow ground, which you don't always see on budget knives, which this is. This particular knife, you may have noticed if you've seen it before, this is not the natural color of this knife. These are dyed micarta scales. The normal ones are, I think, green, like OD green. I wasn't super fond of that. There's also a black version of this knife. The knife is on bearings and in 154 cm, and it is a liner lock with a deep carry clip. Moving on to specs, before I lose my train of thought again. It's already happened. 3¼ inches of blade, 7¾ overall. These points bring it right to that amount, and 4 and just under 4½ inches on handle length. Not terrible, but not the greatest blade to handle ratios, but not bad by any means. Comparisons to the Civivi Elementum and the Civivi Conspirator. Small, full size, or medium. This thing falls pretty readily in between them. It is closer to the Conspirator, but it is definitely also shorter than the Conspirator. This is a I guess this would be sort of in the the medium-sized territory. If this is a full-size knife, and that's a small knife, this is sort of like a medium knife where it's in between the two. And then, of course, there's large and extra large, and damn, what the hell was that? Pocket swords. Wait. Back on track. 3.26 ounces, so basically an ounce an inch. Almost basically on the dot. So the ratios are great here. The balance is, in this case, a little bit farther back than it could be, but that's probably because of the hollow grind. T8 captured pivot. T6 body screws. T6 pocket clip screws. I mean, I'm going to have to say it every time. I don't like seeing T6, but I got to keep reiterating because, I mean, you got to talk about something, right? The T8 is not the deepest T8. I honestly don't like how they did that pivot. The T6 body screws are, weirdly enough, actually quite a bit deeper and probably won't have a problem. I have taken this knife apart. I've used this knife. I have sharpened this. Yeah, it's still quite sharp. Yeah, that one's sharp. That should not be. Let's see. Yeah, that's a sharp knife. T6, weirdly enough, are tool deeper than the T8, which honestly makes them function better. So you probably won't have much problem with the T6 here, but I guess the T8 could actually strip out. It's that shallow. Pocket clip is reversible with, for some reason, 3 mounting positions on both sides. I guess if you want to make it even deeper carry, You could? In fact, while I'm talking, I'm going to see what that feels like. I've never done it. So, before I do that, I guess I should probably get the thickness before I can start talking about the knife. Okay, what are you doing now? Calipers! 493 thousandths. So this is basically half an inch. On the thickness of the handle, 120 thousandths on the dot, on the blade, and behind the edge. Again, this knife has been sharpened twice. And behind the edge of this knife is coming in at 12 thousandths. I sharpened this thing at, I believe, 17 degrees per side. And it's 12 thousandths behind the edge after 2 sharpenings. So, yeah, it's probably coming in right around 11 or 10 thousandths behind the edge to start off with. It's thin ground. It's a good performance cutter. It's got great access for the tip, great draw cuts. The push cuts are a little bit weird because the blade is canted down instead of this way, so it doesn't trap material. But if you really go for it, you can definitely do it. You just have to get used to it. It's not as optimal with that upward canning blade. I think that's important to mention because whenever you got sort of a blade that goes this way in relation to the handle, it traps material and tends to push cut better. So, good geometry, decent thickness on the handle. What the hell was that? I don't know if you heard that, but it was something. There you go. There's the original color for the scales. Sort of a OD green kind of ish deal. Now, obviously, because I can see that here, I'm not going to leave it on there, but I am curious as to see what this feels like with the screws or the pocket clip moved back. And now that we're done with the specs, I can just do a quick overview of this knife. First of all, it's in 154 cm, and the blade has held up pretty well. The initial edge on this thing did dull a little quicker than I was expecting. Or at least it didn't feel that sharp after a relatively short amount of time. But it's taken a great edge. I could definitely probably whittle some hair with this as it sits. And the knife is held up. I mean, as you can see with all the little scratches, I've definitely been using this thing. Oh, here's the... Now I'm tempted to leave the pocket clip here because, believe it or not, even though it sits way further and it's super deep carry now, I actually think it's more comfortable like this. One of my critiques on this knife was the pocket clip gets tall and it was very noticeable in my hand. It wasn't uncomfortable at all. It's super soft and rounded and everything. But back here with it sticking out back, okay, sure. I don't know, this is kind of more comfortable. I may leave it like this, honestly. Okay, so that's the point of the 3. And honestly, when there's 3 there, it doesn't scream like that's where the pocket clip for reverse mounting is. It almost looks like it's just as a design feature. I like it, the 3. I don't know why. I don't always like seeing just 2 screws, but for some reason when you do 3, who knows? It looks more interesting. At least that's my take on it. That's just personal. But it's actually, I think, more comfortable. Yeah, the push grip is actually more comfortable with this, like this. And this grip is, yeah, I'm actually going to leave it like that. Even though you can see under the scale there, it's pretty comfortable and it's deeper carry. There is good retention on the clip, though it does have a flat spot at the end, which I'm never a big fan of because it makes it a little bit of a pain in the butt to get it in and out of the pocket sometimes. I wish they'd just do away with that and go continuous rise. I don't know why companies insist on that, especially budget companies. Looking at you, Civivi. And a lot of others. Can't just say that. Got full liners that shadow box the entire handle, which makes it look really nice, especially now that it's in this blue. Even when it was in green, though, it looks good. They are really, really rounded and softened. And yes, you can feel them, and yes, the scales, because they drop off in such a dramatic fashion, and this thing has gotten its crap kicked out of it a little bit. They drop off in a very dramatic fashion. You can feel those edges, but they're not uncomfortable. They're rounded, they're chamfered, they're soft. The Kizer has great micartas. This isn't as good as the micarta on the Mad Tonto or my Sheepdog, but it's still really good. It's really thick, it's really nice feeling, definitely gives traction. The handle's super neutral and it's super comfortable, especially now that that clip is slightly further back, which is still surprising me. Plunge grind is well away from the edge. You have life to sharpen on this knife, especially with relatively low, a small bevel. It's not going to go up super fast. The stop pin, I couldn't think of the word there, is mounted to the blade and travels with it, so you have full free access to anything for cutting in more. You're going to have a ton of life on this knife. This thing is meant to be used and long-term function. It's got a pretty thin and pokey tip there. That, I mean, honestly, this thing is just very, very utilitarian. There is jimping on the spine that goes up a good bit further than a lot of knives have jimping. It's not the greatest, but it definitely does provide traction. There's no doubt about that. Lock bar access is amazing, super smooth, and Kizer's action is typically pretty freaking awesome. And what helps with that is, if you're looking back there, you see those little square notches on the steel tang? That's weight relieving. And it shifts the weight so it's lighter on this end, so the blade is much more readily dropping. And they use apparently decent bearings, I guess. So the action on Kizers are pretty much always a drop shot. Or a lot of Kizers. Not always, but a lot of the current ones that they're making are probably going to have insane action. And in this case, so you don't get guillotined by a very sharp and thin edge, you have a nub right here that is part of the tang that disappears into the handle, but provides you with a very nice sort of protecting element, because that could be nasty, especially with a blade this thin, especially with a sharp edge on it. The opening method is thumb stud only, and fortunately they work great. Detent is a little bit lighter than maybe I would like to see, but poppy and super smooth, and it works great. I mean, even reverse flicking, super, super easy on this knife. So, oh, and you have a lanyard hold, because sure. This knife was an Ezo design. That's one of the only things I don't like about on this knife. Kizer loves putting the name of the knife and their code on the knife. Just Ezo. And in fact, get rid of the word Kizer. Just leave your logo. Your logo's good looking. They could put that logo anywhere and I wouldn't. As I'm holding it in at an angle, you can't see the logo. I'm just losing my mind. Take Kizer out and just leave the logo. The logo is attractive. You could put it anywhere. You could put it there. You could put it there. You could put it on the clip. Though I'm maybe not on the clip. Some people don't like that. Kizer's got a good logo. It doesn't need to say Kizer underneath it. 154 cm, and we don't need the Domin or the code for it. Why is it not focusing? There we go. Azo, I don't mind. If he has a logo, put that there. But branding-wise, it's got more than I would like, but it's also pretty small. So I'm not going to knock it too hard. Like, that's not bad in terms of what you can occasionally get on some knives. Though right now I have none that have a ton of branding within reach, which is very nice. Civivis have pretty much blank blades. I have a petrified fish, which is blank. Yeah. Ah, there we go. That's got some branding on it. But, again, that's not too terrible. Ah, ha, ha, I knew I was going to find it. Yeah, there's your branding. Benchmade, damn you. I'm still liking that knife, I have to admit. Though, it did not come sharp. Oh, I am getting off on a tangent for another knife that I've already done a video. This is a great knife. This is a great budget knife. It comes in at the $60-some range. I haven't actually looked up this knife recently. Did they go up in the price? I don't know. I know I got mine for, I want to say $50, but I think it was on sale. I'm literally looking it up right now. Kizer Domin. Well, the regular blade shape with just the regular drop point blade shape is about $55, but it's also been discontinued, which I'm just finding out. I hope this hasn't been discontinued. This is a great knife. Don't discontinue this. The handle shape is a slight bit different. The other one just has like a straight back there. And the different blade shape. But otherwise, they're pretty very similar. And they're in the $55 range. I think I got mine for... I want to say I paid $60 for this. I did not do the dyeing of the handles. So... No, I paid $55 for this. It didn't cost me any more. So I'm okay with that. This is a great functional knife. It's feels great. It functions great. The clip is now even better, apparently, in my opinion, for my hands. It is centered. There's no play on mine. And centering a thinly ground hollow grind can be a pain in the butt, but they have managed to do it pretty darn well there. I guess at the tip it is a little bit off-center. It's a little favoring the clip, but when you get thin ground hollow grinds, it can be very hard to control that. So I'm not going to knock them for it. The blade is mostly centered. Kizer does good stuff. This is a good knife. I hope it's not discontinued. I'm going to try and link it below. It's $55. It's a budget knife. 154 cm for $55 is also pretty good. I mean, that is a... I'll take that all day. That is a great budget steal at that price point. So, Kizer Domin with the Sheepsfoot blade. I like it. I like it a lot. I've used it a lot. I've sharpened it, had to sharpen it twice. It's held up. Definitely a knife I would say is one of the top budget knives. I mean, this thing is just fantastic. Yeah. That's all. See you in the next one. I've been rambling for the last couple videos. I'm gonna work on that. If you stuck around this long, I'm finding myself scrambled as the last couple days or the last week or so. So hopefully that'll change. Hopefully you've been able to put up with it. See you later, guys. Thanks for watching.